live from the Wild Wind workshop of power with some more Q&A on this Friday afternoon, if you happen to be somewhere where it is the afternoon. That's Mike, he's just trying to hide in the background and failing. Alright, so we've just got to go for a short walk because I need to retrieve my computer, which has got the preloaded questions on. Yeah, so the news from Wild Wind here is mostly about heat. It is so hot you could bake an egg on the cross beam of your Hobie Tiger without the need for any other sources of heat. Very hot indeed. As you could probably hear, it is pretty windy as well. It's been a very unusual wind because of the heat. It is really, it's like a hairdryer, this wind. So hot, warm and strong. So we're just entering the Wild Wind bar, where I've actually been uploading a video which will be very interesting. What is the temperature, Andy? Yeah, it's probably, what you say, 35?
Feels like 45.
35 feels like 45. Feels like you're living inside a hairdryer. Now that, whoa, nearly stacked it there. Now that is pretty hot. Yeah, and wind speed today has probably been gusting up to about 28 knots. I've been out joyriding on a 16. Top speed of the day, I'm sure you'll be interested to hear, 24.04 knots on the 16. I had a lovely time this morning. I actually serviced all of the Hobie 16 rudder blades, which I say it was a lovely time. I was being a bit sarcastic actually. It took all morning and it was reasonably painful, but there we go. Just returning to the workshop so I can see what the comments say. It's just too bright out in the sunshine. And there we go. Whew. Cool. That was a trek. Huh. Oh, so Florida is really that hot. Didn't know that. All right, any ideas on what parts I need to rig up an old 1980 Hobie 16? Well, it's a bit of an open question, that, because it really depends on what parts have come with that boat and if the boat is complete or not really. So if the boat is complete, you shouldn't need any parts, but yeah, you'll have to be a bit more specific, I suppose, to Caris to let me know what parts it is that you're going to need. Hi Jan, nice to have you on board. All right, just firing up the old computer here to see what preloaded questions we've got for today. Sorry, I'm running a little bit behind because I've been out on the water sailing with quite a few different people. I'm just going to try something else for this light. Just bear with me 1 second. Coming back. Right, maybe that's a bit better. Not quite as much of this ultimate white light at the top of the screen. Sorry, and really there. All right, and finally, I've made it to where I would usually be. Thanks for bearing with me there. Oh, and I've got the camera the wrong way around, so means that the finger will be in the screen when I'm scrolling. Okay, I think we can cope with that. All right, so we are entering into a Q&A session. This is being broadcast live on Friday the 25th of June in the afternoon in Greece. So if you are watching this later on, I won't be able to respond to your questions that you put in the comments immediately, but I will reply to you, and maybe I'll put your questions as preloaded ones in the following week's Q&A. So I have got a few preloaded questions, if you don't mind. I just thought might steam straight in to some of those. So the first one, this comes from, I think it's from Edward's Hobbies, who says, I recently got a Hobie 16 and was wondering if you had any tips on getting the boat out of irons, because that is the biggest problem he's been experiencing. Okay, so when we're talking about being in irons, that would also be what we might call being stalled or just being stuck into the wind, which is quite common for a Hobie 16. And that's one of the reasons why quite a few people don't warm to the Hobie 16, because it has got a tendency to get stuck if you're not using a good technique. So yeah, so let's say you're stuck like here without the ability to get the boat to go, or perhaps even completely head to wind. The first thing that you need to realize is what the sails on the boat do to your course if the boat isn't moving forwards. The rudders on the boat only work if you're moving forwards or backwards, of course, but if you're not moving at all, the rudders don't do anything because they need that flow of water over them. So if you're not moving, then you can alter your course using the sails. Okay, so as we would expect, generally we'd have 2 sails on the boat. One of the things that makes it difficult on a 16 is the 16 doesn't have a central pivot point. So we could go into some detail here because I haven't got much on the preloaders today. So the 16 hull shape, exaggerated of course, is like this, where there is no sort of one single pivot point. Then if we take a boat kind of more similar to a Dart 18 with the skeg hull, we have got a pivot point which is this bit here, and the boat will pivot on there. And then if we take a boat which has got a daggerboard or a centerboard, these are actually the easiest to sail and the easiest to not stall, because we have got very much a central pivot point there with the daggerboard or centerboard. So because we don't have a daggerboard or centerboard on the 16, it does make it quite easy to get stuck. So let's assume, right, we're now looking at our boat from above. Let's assume that the pivot point on the boat is somewhere around here. So almost as if we had daggerboards, but it's just the center of that curve of the hull. And then any pressure we put in front of the pivot point, which would largely be the jib, is going to pull the front of the boat away from the wind. So if we're here stuck and we want to get sailing, we need to pull the front of the boat away from the wind to get going. So pulling in the jib is really going to help. And we can exaggerate that pulling in of the jib actually by pulling it in on the wrong side, and then the wind is really going the jib, and the majority of the mainsail is behind the pivot point. So if we put pressure behind the pivot point like this,